Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Today we're going to be working on the vintage MRP F1 tunnel hull boat. Okay, we're going to be making a sliding battery tray. I'll go over that here in just a few. A servo mount, sensor mounted servo mount, and probably disassemble the motor. I've got it working. I've got the motor running. I put a motor in there. We'll go over that later on as well. So stick around, you guys. I got a busy video, Big B, with Ironclad RC. First of all, I want to mess around with the CG. Okay, on a tunnel hull boat, the center of gravity needs to be like from 30% to 40%. Okay, this is a 30% line, and I'm sure that the 40% is going to be somewhere in here from the trans. So I'm actually having a hard time getting my center of gravity right in this boat. The outboard motor is rather heavy. I'm going to be running a 5200 milliamp 2S pack, so we get a nice run time. Also, with the heavier 2S pack, it's going to help get my CG up forward. Okay, we also have a 5200 3S pack that we may run in the boat. Alright, so we're going to mess around with CG real quick. I got to make a servo mount, like I said in the intro there. We're going to use this piece of birch, just a simple, just going to like bolt right onto the boat. Boom, done. So I have my motor on, got my servo where it's going to be. I've got my ESC in the boat. Basically, the boat's set up. All I have to do is figure out where and how we're going to mount the battery. Okay, so that's where my problem lies. With this boat, you can't get to the forward section up here. And I've kind of considered cutting this out, which I kind of ruled it out, but I did consider it. There's some foam. There's some foam. You guys see the foam? It's dead center right there, you know, right here. So I can only get my CG up so far, like the way the boat sits right now. Okay, so with the 2S battery in there pushed as far forward as I can get it, which is basically right here because we got foam up front, I can only get my CG right there. Okay, that's not even 20% of the hull. Okay, and that's with the small motor on. Alright, we're going to throw the 3S battery in real quick, and it's the same. It's actually farther back. Okay, so we're going to need to get our battery basically up here somewhere, somehow, so we can get our CG forward, get our 40% center of gravity. Okay, so my plan for that is going to be to use the old UL19 electronics tray. I'm basically going to salvage this because it's just laying around taking up space, and we're going to make a sliding battery tray. Okay, this is going to basically sit in the boat like that. Okay, we're going to have two thumb screw holes right here, and our this is going to slide. It's going to like insert into that larger hole and slide forward so it don't pop out. Use a curled nut on these two holes right here. Once we get it in the boat, we can either have two positions, all the way forward or back. Okay, or maybe even 3 or 4 different positions. So what I'm planning on doing is using these two screw holes right here. It's already got nuts in it, so we can just screw our screw in to lock it in place. We'll elongate and drill a hole right here, elongate a slide. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this side out for the battery tray slide itself. I got my birch servo mount cut out. Okay, it's going to meet up to our steering linkage that's mounted on the motor mount here on the outboard. Perfect. Okay, kept in mind that the outboard motor may be moved up and down for my ride height adjustability. Okay, turned out pretty good. So I still need to seal it up, but I'm going to show you guys what I got going on here. So on my motor, I've had to make an extension. Okay, because this has a short wire, my ESC has a short wire. So I drilled these 3 holes to fit a 5/16 grommet. Okay, on the back of this birch, this is birch, not basswood. On the back, I put some nut plates right here to kind of reinforce it. Okay, and I epoxied it on. Alright, so basically our ESC is going to be mounted like right here under the servo, and our motor wires will be kind of like stationary. set into place. Okay, so that's actually going to be pretty good. I'm going to thin out some epoxy and seal it up. My sliding battery tray all made up. Okay, it turned out pretty good. All right, so what I did is I just took it out to my table saw. I ripped both battery trays off the tray. Okay, and once I got them ripped off, I did a bunch of figuring. Okay, it actually took me about 30 minutes to figure out where I wanted to put my post, which, by the way, is a Traxxas motor head screw. Okay, it's got a real big head on it. I figured that would work perfect, but it took me about 30 minutes to figure out where I wanted to put this post and where I wanted to drill my hole for the post. Okay, basically used my table saw to rip a slit in it. It was real quick and it looks nice and clean. Okay, so it's basically going to go right on the bottom tray. Okay, slide into the hole and then I can slide it forward. All right, you guys see that? Basically going to make a homemade curled nut with this 2.5 millimeter screw, and I basically have two mounting positions on my tray. Okay, somehow I'm going to have to mark it so it's easy to find, but I'll basically screw that in and it'll lock it in place. I'm not going to use straps, so I can keep my battery tray as low profile, as low in the boat as I can. So I'm probably going to use some soft Velcro right here and on my batteries. So this tray, it weighs about 160 grams, and all 160 grams is going to be forward of our 30% line. So that's going to be good. Okay, I could actually lighten it up a little bit if I wanted to. I could cut these, I could cut all that off, make it a little bit skinnier and lighten it up a few grams, but I think the extra weight may be good to try to get my CG up forward. Okay, that way I can run this 1410 Castle motor later on. Okay, that's what my goal is, because this motor right here is going to be better for the boat on 2S than this motor. This is a 3S motor. Well, 3 and 4S. This is a 2 and 3S motor. Okay, actually I think that's a 3380 kV, now that I think of it. But it's going to be mounted in the boat about right there. Okay, like in the boat, but that's about where it's going to be mounted in the boat. Basically, so I can get my hand in there and get the nuts tightened for my two adjustment settings here. And it's going to be mounted on some scrap pieces from the electronics tray. I just cut 3 of them. I'm going to have one there, and one up forward. I'm going to epoxy these onto this battery tray, and then we're going to E6000 the battery tray into the boat. Roadside 347, one of my viewers mentioned E6000 for mounting battery trays works pretty good, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Okay, so these nut plates right here, I grinded them down so I can get the battery tray as low as I can. Okay, so I grinded them down and I grinded most of the nut off. So I took the nut out and I drilled deeper into the mount so I can run my nut higher in the tray. Okay, and I actually cut a little piece of carbon fiber for both posts, and so I don't run my screw through the battery tray into and through the hull of the boat. Okay, so if you're doing this, just make sure you cap it off. All right, epoxy that on there. It's actually the next day. Okay, I've got my servo mount sealed up. Okay, I went 2 thinned out layers of epoxy, and then my 3rd layer I actually didn't wipe it off. I just kind of brushed it on there. So 3 layers. Okay, I got the holes drilled, I got those sealed up, these guys are sealed up, I got the grommets in there, I got my ESC in the grommets, the wires. Okay, so we're going to actually do a real quick dry fit. I've also done some work on my battery tray. I went ahead and cut off those little strap retainers because I'm not using straps. So I went ahead and cut them off. The battery tray weighed 160 grams. Before I cut them off, I got it down to 140 grams by cutting the edges off. And then I installed my blocks here epoxy those on, and it's back up to 160 grams. So I'm actually kind of glad I went ahead and trimmed it up. So I've actually done some digging, and I got some stainless steel rod here. This is push-pull rod out of a 1-to-1 outboard motor steering. And we're going to use that. I actually found some connectors. I didn't think I had any, but I have a buku. I have a bunch of these guys right here. These are square lock push rod connector, okay, with reusable nylon snap-on or a permanent mount push nut. Okay, these are the permanent push nuts, and then they have a plastic version. We're going to go ahead and go permanent, so we're going to work on that while the E6000's curing out. Man, it literally took me 15 minutes. I had to go through every freaking Allen wrench I had to find the right Allen for this freaking screw. Oh my god, I guess it's standard, not metric, and oh man, I had a hard time finding it. Okay, so my ESC is basically going to go off to the side right there. Hopefully the servo sits in there as planned. Oh, it does. I hope. Oh no, it doesn't. Oh, what am I going? Oh, it does. I was about to say, what the hell am I going to do? I got the battery tray in the boat. I got it curing out. So, 3S. Sounds good. First of all, you want to find center on your transmitter when you're hooking up any servo. Don't matter if it's a outboard or inboard setup. Center out your servo. Get your servo horn on the servo so that it's basically parallel or 90 degrees up and down. And with this setup right here, we're doing push-pull. We're using 2 steering rods, okay? Or push-push, pull-pull, whatever you want to call it. All right. Like I said earlier, I'm using these square push lock, basically airplane connectors, okay? And what I've done is I basically found the matching hole patterns, okay? So the steering linkages are the same distance apart, okay? Mine, the closest I could get it is well, you guys can see it, it's about 1 millimeter or 2 closer together on the motor side than the servo, so we're just going to roll with it, okay? Once I push these locks onto the connector, they're permanent. So I'm gonna basically do a dry setup first, and then we'll permanently lock those connectors into place. So I'm basically using outboard motor, throttle, push-pull steering cable or rod. This is stainless steel rod from a 1-to-1 outboard motor. All right, I figured that would just be perfect for this, okay? And it's free. For me, it's free. You can go to like marine repair, outboard motor repair shops, ask them for an old push-pull cable, throttle, or steering. Both of them have the same rod, basically, okay? An old steering cable, and they'll give it to you a lot of times. All right, so we're basically going, I'm going to cut it just a little bit long. Well, I'm going to cut it right there. Just free steering rod. You just got to straighten it out. A lot of times it comes at like kind of a coil, you know. All right, so got those cut. All right, just going to kind of straighten them up a little bit here. Okay. Hopefully they fit in. Yep, they fit in the connectors. So hopefully this works, because this motor is going to go up and down, and these little connectors, they only have so much play. So hopefully it works out. I'm gonna probably upgrade the connector to a common push rod connector. I'm just using what I have right now, so I don't have to go to the hobby shop, and they're closed today anyway, so it don't matter. Okay, I'm just gonna hook it up like so. We're gonna tighten it down here. That looks good. That looks good. So I think I'm going to roll with that. I think I'm going to go ahead, put my push locks on. They're kind of a pain in the butt, so I'm going to do it off camera. I don't have any tricks to tell you. So I got the push rod locks on. Okay, that thing ain't going nowhere, boy. Once you put those on, that bad boy's locked in place. Okay, while I had the motor off, just wanted to show you guys this. I had to re-drill my screws, my head screws, because it's a smaller motor. I used the big Traxxas button head screws for that. I had to shorten the shaft up so I can run this coupler. Alright, the coupler is the perfect length. It was just the motor shaft that wouldn't let this sit down onto the lower unit. Okay, I used a 3mm flex cable out of my Dremel helping hand, basically. It had 2 square ends, and I only needed 1 square end on that cable for my Dremel, so I cut this down. Okay, you got a square end and a round end. Okay, that basically drops down into the lower unit, and you got to kind of play with it a little bit here. There we go. There we go. Alright, so it's 4 screws that holds this motor mount on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get this secured. I'm going to get all my screws Loctited. Okay, well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and Loctite this as well while I have it off and oil this guy here up. The battery tray is pretty much cured out. Alright, it actually turned out pretty good, and it's solid. So far, it's pretty solid in there. I think I made the right decision using that E6000. So that's an idea for you guys. I got my ESC position where you guys seen I had it earlier. Okay, I got the wires run through the grommets. Got my steering all Loctited, the motor collet, everything's greased up on the lower unit. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how my battery tray works, because I actually had to do some modifications, which it would actually work without the modifications, but trying to get my 2S battery squeezed in between that brace that was right here, it was a little cumbersome, and I actually trimmed up the brace like right here as much as I could, so I just decided to cut it out. So what I'm going to do, use a piece of polystyrene right here, put a piece of polystyrene on the inside right here. You know, maybe use that marine weld from JB Weld to glue it all in place, kind of connect it all, and so it's reinforced. You know, it's actually got a little bit of play, but it had play before, so I think it made the right decision. You know, trying to get this battery in and out with that brace there, I may do more harm than good, you know, so I kind of chose the lesser of 2 evils. So my battery's basically going to slide in. Okay, I got it forward on this battery tray. I ended up cutting that forward battery stop off so I can get my battery forward if I want to. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of set it right here. We're going to check weight distribution. I'm going to let you guys go. I didn't mean the video to be this long, but I can't stop working on this freaking boat, man. So it just dropped into place. I'm pushing it forward. That's its forwardmost position. Okay, with the 2S battery, our weight was right here when we started. Okay, so with the 160 grams on the battery tray and the battery forward, we basically have our 30%. Okay, and that's, I can actually get the battery up farther, maybe that much more. I actually made this guy right here. This is just a piece of plastic from a package. It's kind of thick. I held on to it, and I've kind of cut it and shaped it so I can tape it right here. When we run the boat, the hole will be watertight. Okay. I told you guys I can't quit working on this damn boat. I was going to do all this in the next one, so I just went ahead and did it, and I'll show you. Okay, the water cooling's done. In, out, through our drop-in. I used a PROBOAT through hole, epoxied in, into the ESC, out the ESC, and out the boat. Okay, I double side taped my power button on. My receiver's double side taped in. All the wires are consolidated. All out weight with the battery to 2200, 3 pounds 6 ounces. Yes sir, buddy. Yes sir, buddy. All right. Got the sliding battery tray. I got my hatch cover here. Got all that worked out. Even found all matching Phillips head screws, so I don't have to keep switching between Allen Phillips. I did it all everywhere, okay, because the cowling has Phillips. It just makes it easy, okay. Our sliding battery tray goes forward and back. All right, turned out freaking awesome, you guys. So I'll let you go. We'll do the maiden in the next video, okay.